Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's live Zoo to You. My name is Katie. I'm an educator here at the Stone Zoo, and guess who we're joined by today? It is Owlfredo, the Eastern screech owl. Today is a very special day. We are wishing Owlfredo a belated third hatch day today. Her hatch day or birthday was actually yesterday. And if you have any questions about Owlfredo during our video today, please feel free to type them in the comment section and we will be very happy to answer them for you. So today is a really special day. Owlfredo has just turned 3 years old. And a really common question we get about Owlfredo, whether she is meeting people in person or virtually, is she a baby owl? And it's really easy to see why people think that. You might not be able to tell when you're up close, but when you're a little further away and see the size of her body in comparison to a human or other objects for scale, you might notice how small she is. Owlfredo is just half a pound and is around 6 inches tall. So she does look like she might be a baby animal. A lot of people think that she is a baby great horned owl because of those ear tufts on top of her head. But she is not a baby. Owlfredo is fully grown. This is as big as Eastern screech owls get, with females being a little bit larger than males. She is a female, so she might be a little bit larger than her male counterparts. And Eastern screech owls are the second smallest owl species here in New England. If anybody has a guess what the first smallest is, feel free to type it in the comment section. Even if you're not watching this video live, I'll give you a few seconds to see if you can get those comments in before I say what it is. 3, 2, 1. They are saw-whet owls. Saw-whet owls are the smallest here in New England, with Eastern screech owls being second. So Owlfredo weighs, like I said, just half a pound. So if you're watching at home and you're curious what that feels like on your hand, if you go to your refrigerator and take out 2 sticks of butter and balance those on your finger, that's what it is like holding Owlfredo. So even though I'm wearing a glove, she is perched just on my pointer finger and not on the rest of my hand. So I am able to support her with just one finger. Now she is very, very lightweight, but I'm still wearing a rather thick glove on my hand. And that is to protect my hand and my skin from her talons. Owls do have pretty sharp talons. You can actually see them right there. And her beak. Owls also have a sharp, hooked and curved beak, and that is for tearing and ripping through meat. So wearing that glove, it's called a falconer's glove, keeps my hand nice and safe. And if you've seen any other videos that we've had, especially with Valkyrie, the barn owl, you'll notice that our falconer's glove looks quite different. That glove extends all the way to our elbow. That's for much larger birds. Since Owlfredo is so small, I'm able to wear a glove that just really comes to the middle of my forearm. Owlfredo is also fully flighted, so you might notice this string dangling down. So on her ankles is something called an anklet, and it's just like us wearing a bracelet around our wrist or an anklet around our own ankles. And that anklet has a small hole in it. Through that hole, we are able to attach these neon green and black strings. Those are called jesses. To the jess, we loop something through called a swivel, and that has another loop on it that we can connect a leash to. So just like you might take your dog out for a walk on a leash, or in my case, maybe your cats can go out on a harness and a leash. Our birds that are fully flighted, they like being able to go outside too, and we can take them out into open areas with a leash, and that's for their own protection so they stay nice and safe with us. And that's really important for all of our animals at the zoo, but especially animals like Owlfredo, the Eastern screech owl. Owlfredo has a really cool story of how she came to live with us at the zoo that I thought I would share in honor of her hatch day. So at this time, around 3 years ago, Owlfredo was actually hatching out of her egg that was inside of an incubator. So her egg was laid out in nature, out somewhere in western Massachusetts, along with her sister. And a tree company that was hired to do some very routine tree work, cutting down dead trees that can be really dangerous for people or for buildings, were removing some dead trees, and they accidentally cut down the tree that Owlfredo's nest was in. So they contacted wildlife officials, just like you're supposed to do if you're encountering a wild animal that might need some help. And in those situations, the best thing to do is to look for a surrogate nest, so another eastern screech owl that has a nest that they could put those eggs in. But they could not find any in the area, so the decision was made to incubate and hand rear Owlfredo and her sister. And one thing that a lot of birds do is as soon as they hatch, the first thing they see, their brain tells them, that's my mom. That's called imprinting. So Owlfredo and her sister had imprinted on people, so they likely view us as giant owls or themselves possibly as tiny humans. So since Owlfredo is imprinted on people, she is reliant on them to supply her food. She's not a great hunter and does not know how to hunt on her own. And for safety, for staying safe from predators. Even though eastern screech owls are predators themselves, they are meat eaters. They're also prey for lots of other species, including larger owls. When they're young, maybe even, a chick, a predator might be something like a raccoon or a skunk. So not only do they have to find their food, but they have to be able to stay safe from predators. So let's maybe talk about some of those adaptations that help owls like Owlfredo survive. So first, you can notice this coloration on her body. Eastern screech owls come in two different colors. They're called color morphs. There is a gray and brown morph, and there's a red morph. Owlfredo, if I can spin her around, you can get a good look at the feathers on her back, is that brown and gray morph. So that coloration helps her blend in really, really well to tree bark, especially trees that are deciduous and lose their leaves. Their bark tends to be more of a gray or brown color. Owls that have that kind of red color morph blend in really well to conifers, so pine trees, evergreen trees that keep their needles, and they usually have a little bit redder bark. So that coloration is going to help owls like Owlfredo stay safe from predators by blending in really, really well. To find their food, we're going to talk a little bit about these two ear tufts on top of her head. So a lot of people think those are owl's ears because they look a lot like other animal ears. They're triangular, they're sticking up on top of their head, but those are not her ears. Those are just ear tufts. What ear tufts do is they help trap any sounds and channel them down into her ears. So we're actually not able to see Owlfredo's ears right now. They are small holes. She doesn't have an earlobe like humans do, and they're under all of those feathers on her head. And what's really cool about owl ears is that they're asymmetrical. So one ear is up really high on their head. On the other side, that ear is going to be located lower on their head. And that's going to help them best determine what direction a sound is coming from. So they have really incredible hearing and really excellent eyesight. Right now, she's using her eyesight to check out our rosy boa Robert, just kind of looking at him to see what he's up to. Owl eyes are enormous. Our eyes are pretty big, but when we're looking around, we're able to keep our head still and to move our eyes independently from the rest of our head. Since owls' eyes are so big, and Owlfredo's demonstrating this right now, they cannot move their eyes in their eye sockets. Instead, they have to turn their entire head to be able to see in a different direction. So right now she's fixated on something or someone walking by our building, and you can see that I'm turning her body, but her head is staying still. Owls can turn their head really far around. They can turn their head 270 degrees. So that would be like me turning my head to the right and being able to look over my left shoulder. So they can't turn their head all the way around, but they have a really good range of motion with their neck to help them see in almost all directions at the same time. Another really common question we get here at the zoo is, what does Owlfredo eat? So Owlfredo, like I mentioned earlier, is a carnivore. So on a daily basis, she gets some ground meat and also mice. One thing we've learned about Owlfredo, I think it's because she's been hand-reared by people, is she might have some, what we call in humans, some picky eater tendencies. So she likes her mice cut up into really small pieces, and she enjoys them that way. But since she is a smaller species, they also eat insects. So eastern screech owls will eat really any insects that they might be able to catch. Here at the zoo, she really likes pouncing on crickets and mealworms. Those are some of her favorite treats. As we call them in the zoo, novel foods. And in celebration of her birthday, she got to try a new food, and that was some crayfish. So she can get a small portion of crayfish. This was brand new for her, and she actually did eat that piece overnight. So now we're finding that she does have food preferences and likes and dislikes, and crayfish just happens to be one of those likes. And we'll take some questions, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the comments.
I wanted to start off by saying thank you to everyone who has wished Owlfredo a happy birthday in the comments. But Katie, I'm wondering, at the beginning I noticed you're wearing a mask and you've got a rubber glove on. I was wondering if you could talk about that in case people don't know why you're wearing those.
Ooh, good point. So first, thank you, Owl, for wishing Owlfredo a happy birthday. So I am wearing a mask and some vinyl gloves. That is because we are experiencing an outbreak of avian flu here in the United States, and it is found in Massachusetts. So we're taking lots of extra precautions to protect all of the birds we have at Stone Zoo and Franklin Park Zoo. Since Owlfredo is an ambassador animal and is used to coming out of her enclosure and meeting people, I'm still taking her out and getting her used to being on my glove, but I'm doing that in a safe way. So I'm wearing a mask and gloves to protect her from any possible contaminants that might be on my body. Avian flu is what's called a zoonotic disease, and that means it is something that can be transferred between humans and certain animals. So I do not interact with birds in any other capacity than I do here at the zoo, but this is just an added precaution. I'd much rather be safe and make sure I'm taking all of those precautions to keep the animals safe than to have something happen. So we're taking it very, very seriously here.
And can you see Owlfredo if you come to visit the Stone Zoo?
Good question. So Owlfredo does live behind the scenes. She does live in an area where only staff work. During times where we are not experiencing avian flu, she is an ambassador, so she can come out and meet the public on a glove with an educator. So once we get the all clear that, avian flu rates have dropped enough where we feel it's safe for her to come out and meet the public again, she will absolutely do so.
Awesome. And then our last question is coming to us from Tori. And they are wondering, does she get any special birthday treats?
Good question, Tori. So she can absolutely get some special birthday treats. She got some crawfish or crayfish, depending on your preference. And that was something she really, really enjoyed. Owlfredo also loves enrichment. So she loves any new foods, any new areas that she can explore. And one of her favorite things to do, it seems, is to shred things. So for Owlfredo, we can actually give her some really long pieces of paper towel. Kind of looks like streamers, maybe a little less colorful. And I will put them up in her enclosure, and when I come back in the morning, they are in 1,000 pieces all over the place. I love cleaning up after animals because it means they're enjoying their enrichment. I love giving them enrichment that they love. For her, it's a really natural instinct to want to shred things. She has a curved beak for shredding, long talons for shredding, so I'm really glad she's able to use all of those natural behaviors and completely redecorate her enclosure with confetti instead of streamers. All right, everyone, we are just about out of time. I want to thank you all so much for joining us today and for wishing Owlfredo a very happy 3rd birthday. Please come and visit the zoo when you can in person. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.